finally went through my basement and went through a stack of writing that I've had there for years, stuff that I wrote when I was writing, when I first met Ron, stuff that I wrote at University of Baltimore after that. I call it the hoard. It's like this just big pile of stuff from all the hard drives that have crashed on me. And so I finally went through and started to retype some of these. So I'm going to read you some of my older work. These also come with no guarantees of quality, although I have edited them. So here's a more of a political poem. Ron will like this one. This one is called Solar Eclipse, with the word solar spelled S-O-U-L-A-R. Can your eyes not see the tragedy that my eyes see? Or are they too caught up in your TVs, your DVDs, your PSPs, your MySpaces, and your iPhonies that they are blind to what surrounds you? Or are you just too afraid of the truth you'll see? Our metropolis dreams turn necropolis screams, where the dead prowl the streets, scavenging for bits of eat, blowing gravel off half-chewed gutter discards, drinking that flat backwash contaminated splash of tepid piss water we toss into that trash can, numbing their minds with that poison they buy for the few pennies we provide, if only they will hide again from our sullied sights. Retreat to their cardboard palaces, their city-heated steam vents, their billboard park benches coated in newspaper they can't even read, where the dying, left-behind child runs wild on our meanest streets, spying for his dope and gun-slinging paper heroes, fouling out on concrete-coated rock courts, Holy Grail blazing a path he hopes will lead to our white castles that ignore his plight, not knowing he's in a labyrinth leading only into the walls that separate the dying from the dead he will join in his ghetto mausoleum without our hands to pull him free, where the falling fall for the freedom they sought for themselves, freedom not forced and foisted upon foreigners too afraid to fight for or find it for themselves. Our young fallen for lies or free rides to higher education and higher living, when their only guarantees of free ride is air freight in a flag-draped corpse box back home where they can be ever free to rot under our feet. Can your eyes not see, or are you too afraid to stare at the eclipse too long? Afraid that your eyes will melt in the bright white hot glowing pain shining through our soul shadows, blocking our sons, our daughters, our fathers and mothers, sisters and brothers, dead and dying as we reap and eat the fruit that glows from the slow flowing clots of their blood. Look, open your eyes and see. If you do go blind, you go blind with me. Otherwise, ignore the plight, and in the end, we all lose sight. Back when I was at the University of Baltimore, we had to write a poem about our bodies. I decided to do it as an homage to Lucille Clifton. She wrote My Hips. So I wrote about these lips. It actually turned into two poems. This is the first one. Oh, how I hated these lips, these obese pieces of meat that hang under my nose like thick bits of pork fat. These lips stopped me from talking to girls because I knew they secretly laughed at these lips. I did all I could to hide them, posed in front of the mirror for hours, sucking them over my teeth, looking like some amateur Humphrey Bogart. I dreamt of the day my face would sprout hair, some down at least to camouflage their unsightly mass, until I found someone who loved these lips and licked these lips and sang to their lusciousness. Now these lips are lovers' lips, bears of deep titillating kisses to which even the most resistant must succumb. These lips are liquid lips, flowing swiftly, clearly over every hill and valley in their wake. These lips are liquor, intoxicating. Take a sip. And here's... Thank you. And then I'm a lazy poet, so when I was asked to write a form poem, I hate form poems. I think they're very constricting. So I decided to just take the These Lips poem and make it into a rhyme. So this is These Lips, the sequel. Oh, how I hated these lips, these hulking beef tips, thick pork fat strips, big pig buffalo chips. I thought, these are God's slips, or some wicked cantrips, because I could surely eclipse half the world with these lips. Then a goddess worshipped the breath of these lips, her tongue forming ellipses, her mouth taking sips. Now these redeemed lips are proud sailing ships, taking extended trips from head to hips, bringing pleasure in long, slow drips. Yeah, okay. I think I got time for a couple more before we bring the big man Ron. And I mean that in not girth. I mean that. Okay. This I don't know how you all feel about horoscopes and tarot readings. My fiance, who's my muse right now, she's really into that. So this was inspired by a tarot reading she did for me a few years ago. It's called Tarot for Beginners. Draw a card before you go, she interrupts. Not stopping my story, I reach out and blindly pull one at random. Lay it face down between us. You're not going to look? She asks, smiling. Staring at the paper destiny I simply ignore. I'm still talking here, I reply, and if you can just keep your eyes on that when I'm ready to flip it over. Otherwise, feel free to flip it for me. Oh no, she replies, as her smile spreads to her eyes, as she glares at the neglected tarot. The card itself expands like a sponge, absorbing moisture. But I hold true to my word and wait until I'm ready. Flip. It's death. And we both start laughing. Death doesn't mean death, she begins. It means change, I finish. I know. My mother pulled tarot for friends when I was young. You learned that lesson 1. She's right, she replies, finally looking me in the eyes, that sea of golden brown flecked green, exploring what's inside of me. What does she see? The hangman or the fool? The zero or the hero? And why couldn't I have drawn lovers? I suddenly remember why, which makes me rise, say my goodbyes and fly, before she has me draw another, like the tower, which will make my world crumble right before my eyes. This poem is called Villalba. It's about a little town that my people are from in Puerto Rico. If you see me slurring over my S's and my ST's and my STR's, it's because of that whole Puerto Rican descent thing. I have trouble with that. I once was in grade school, and we had to read, where they have those little pamphlets or books you can buy in school, Scholastic. And it was my turn to read, and I had to read Ian Fleming's book. And so, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and of course I said Shitty Shitty Bang Bang. Everybody in class laughed at me. So anyway, it has nothing to do with this poem, except, I'm so sorry. Villalba, this is about the little town that my family grew up in, or came from in Puerto Rico. And about the summers that I used to spend there when I was a child. A shallow little thing, the river behind Abuelita's house. Barely deep enough to wade in, to slam our clothes clean against rocks. Except when the hurricanes came, we would have to gather the chicken and the geese and stow them in the basement, praying that the great brown surge, carrying cows and cars with equal ease, would not devour or foul away. How far does it go? Asked mi hermano. Don't know, but I hear that upstream the catfish get so big you could wrestle them out of the water. So we set out on a day free of hurricanes to find that place where the river began. How far had we walked before we realized our folly? As the current grew stronger, a lucha libre wrestler shoving us around, knocking us down, refusing a glance under his golden mask. And the catfish? Just as we believed, one navigating the current more easily than we could, its whiskers as long as it was. I pounced, thinking perhaps I could have at least this one pleasure. Rocks in my hands and nothing more.